As somebody that went from an iPhone 13 to an iPhone 16 Pro, you're probably thinking, is it worth me upgrading? Well, I've spent enough time with this thing that I'm gonna help you make that decision. This is not about technical specs. This is about the stuff that you're generally gonna notice when you go from an older device to a brand new device. Welcome to the channel where we dive into the tech to enhance your daily life. Personally, my phone, probably like you too, plays a massive role in my day-to-day life. And this year, I had to decide if it's finally worth the upgrade to the latest iPhone 16 Pro. So I jumped in, I decided to upgrade, and I want to help you make that decision too. Oh, and don't freak out, but I'm a no case kind of guy, so you've been warned. So let's start with something that I really didn't expect to impress me as much as it did, but that's the always on display. I absolutely love the always on display. It might sound simple, but just being able to, at a glance, see things that are loading up on your phone, even just to see the time without having to click into it and open up and unlock the interface, is a really nice feature. And honestly, I think is actually a lifestyle improvement, because what I find that I don't do anymore is start doom scrolling. By being bombarded with all the notifications that come up, I'm not actually engaging with them now. I'm just glancing over, seeing what's going on, and just walking away. I don't need to go in. There was something about that, physical contact that sparked the doom scroll. I like that the always on display has almost removed that from me. And the brightness, like, wow. Here in Australia, it is pretty much full of sunlight all the time. It's an incredibly bright country, and this display really holds up. Even the always on mode looks sharp in almost any light at all angles. It's clear and the content just pops off the page. It's really, really crisp. So think about your next holiday when you've gone down to the beach and you couldn't quite see the screen when you're on your sun lounger chilling out. Well, you definitely can now, so you never get to miss any of that episode or that important news article about your favorite football team. So what about that bigger screen? Well, it makes my content absolutely sing. I love watching content on this screen. I have an iPad M4 as well, and it's fantastic. And I really started to notice when I was going from watching content on my iPad back to my 13 Pro, it just felt a lot dimmer and less vibrant. And that's gained back here with this new device. You can really tell the leap when you look at it side by side. Maybe not on the first day that you open it up, but when you go back after a couple of weeks, you can really notice it. Now, a big deal was made about the battery life in the last few years and how optimized they've been. But this battery really stands up, and definitely compared to my old device, because that old device, I got into the habit of that midday charge requirement. I mean, I don't know when it happened, but at some point in the last 6 months, that battery started to fail me and I was already charging it by lunchtime. Is that just me? Comment below, let me know if it was you too. But it's an absolute shift. I can tell the difference immediately. But really for me, the generational leap in the upgrade is all about the camera. So the iPhone has been my primary content creation camera. This is obviously all being shot now on the iPhone 16. In fact, all of this content is shot on the iPhone 16, unless you can see the iPhone 16 in the shot. It was filmed by something else, obviously. But it is my primary source. So I couldn't look past the camera this year, and like, wow, it really has shifted and improved. And I'm absolutely amazed at how far these, like, I thought the 13 Pro was incredible. I'm absolutely mesmerized by the fact that this is a significantly improved camera experience. The images are sharper, the details pop. So if you are after a camera upgrade, the difference for me is significant. And because I do use it every day, I'm noticing the subtleties. The zoom is excellent. The autofocus is so incredibly smooth on videos too. I mean, on the iPhone 13 Pro, you often got this little jump when you move from one frame to the next. I mean, I've done some testing here and you can just see how smooth that transition is. And it does feel like a justifiable upgrade. Whew, thank God. So people have thrown a lot of shade at camera control, and I think we can just back off a little bit. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments around the location of it. I mean, Apple have had to account for a lot of different hand sizes. I personally haven't found reaching over to use camera control an issue at all. My hands are relatively big, I guess, but it hasn't been a problem. I can't imagine it being any closer to the edge. I feel like that would be too narrow and definitely give me hand cramp. So I think the location is fine for probably 80% of people. Although I don't know how impressed I've been with the subtlety of the button that isn't a button. I can see why they don't call it a button, because when you're lightly hovering and doing like a half press, it's a bit hit and miss. But I've definitely gravitated towards just pressing camera control and bringing the camera up as the standard action for accessing camera. So it's doing that level of job, and I've definitely gravitated again towards that profile, that landscape profile, and using the button specifically to take pictures. So I think I'll definitely be using that to take more pictures. Therefore, it's doing its job. It's fine, let's leave it alone. On to the next thing. Alongside the camera update this year has also been the inclusion of photographic styles. So photographic styles allow you to add almost Instagram-like filters. They've already got filters obviously built into the app, and they're kind of more advanced version of those. But the best bit about this is that you can manually adjust and control how much light and tone you want in your pictures. So you're able to adjust the vibrancy, the light intake. And we all know the slight issue with iPhones is that they make the image much brighter than usual. And so let's say you're in a darkened room, like this photo, for example, in front of a fireplace. The original picture was much brighter, and I was able to just adjust that to keep those shadows in the shot, which made it it made it replicate the ambience that was actually there, instead of that, you know, harsh, almost fluorescent feature that comes through on traditional iPhone shots. So for somebody that has not been in the last 2 or 3 generations, Dynamic Island is a thing, and yeah, it's a thing. I kind of don't, I've lived so long without it that I don't think I need it. I don't know, like, do you like Dynamic Islands? Have you got it now? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. If anything, I've actually found it more annoying. Like, it's quite nice to see these little hints and prompts of what's happening on my phone in the background, or little updates that don't take me out of my experience. Very much appreciative of that, but I'm a guy that got really used to scrolling through content and then tapping the top of the screen to take me back up the top of the content. I find myself pressing Dynamic Island too often and then shooting me off to another app. It's really annoying, so I have to be a bit more precise in my presses. I know it's a minor thing, but when you've had such a learned experience, I've had an iPhone for, I don't know, what feels like 15 years now. So yeah, it's frustrating sometimes. So one downside I have definitely noticed that I didn't experience with my older phones is how hot this thing gets. So even just using, say, a couple of apps, like listening to a podcast and then browsing through a social media platform, I can really start to feel the heat like building up on the back. In fact, even just testing with some of these shots, so these in and out of focus frames, the phone got really quite warm, and I'd say that is a significant heat improvement from my last phone. I didn't recognize it getting that hot, and I was doing almost all of the same actions. So it might be that iOS 18 isn't optimized enough yet for the new performance requirements, but we've got so much RAM that's meant to be there to help all the processing power that is required for Apple Intelligence. And I'd hate to think about how hot that's gonna get when that's included in all of this too. So definitely one to watch out for. It's, again, not a deal breaker, but I am skeptical when it comes to integrating Apple Intelligence in the first go, how hot this thing is gonna get. And I live in Australia again, like it's a bit of a hot country. I could do with not having my phone burn up. So upgrade from your 13 or your 14 or even older, like absolutely. Look, you're always going to upgrade and get the new phone at some point. But I think that there's been a long enough wait, and the significant improvements in the camera, in the screen quality, in the brightness, in that always on display. If you haven't had those things in the past, this genuinely feels like a brand new device, and I'm really, really liking it. I'd also suggest that when the Apple Intelligence feature is finally launched, I don't want to bag it out here, we'll do that in another video, it will genuinely feel like you've got a generational change. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Future Simplified. We'd love to see you next time. And when you do have your new phone, you're probably going to want a few apps for that. So we've got some videos just up here that help you find the right apps to improve your productivity and your lifestyle. For everything else, we're going to see you next time. Thanks for watching.